Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion plays the Binding of Isaac AFTERBIRTH Plus. Easy, like, not even a warm-up last time, it was too easy. How about this one? Well, we got Lego hands, that's a start. HP's fine, I mean the spacebar item's amazing, speed's a little trash, but everything else seems okay. Yeah, I think this will do. It's going to be a little bit of an adjustment period just to remind ourselves, you know, like not every run by the 4th floor can have 8 damage and, you know, 1 rate of fire, and obviously I'm being a little facetious of this. Are we going to re-roll the whole run? That's how we're going to live our lives? Okay. Now I have no idea how this run's going to go, but we're so early. Let's go to the item room first, and it's not because we're trying to hedge our bets, it's just because a full run re-roll means so little if we don't have anything being re-rolled. It's just like, okay, we can re-roll. I don't even know if it re-rolls our spacebar item on a 1 room. I think it doesn't. But there's so many little edge cases in this game that I don't even, you know, deign to remember them. So the item room is eyeball tiers. Well, you know, we might actually just not re-roll the whole run. First off, I think people would be okay with that. And secondarily, it seems like we got maybe a cooler synergy waiting for us here. If we just stick with the eyeball tiers and try to make those work. So I might just ignore the full run reroll, but it's not because I'm a coward or anything. Plus, Mom said you can't call me that anymore. Come on. We'll try it. I mean, it's a little too easy to just go stopwatch, but we'll do it anyway, because that's the kind of guy I am. And we'll see if we can get one more item up there as well. I don't really care about blue map. See if we can get a little bit more money first. Yeah, I think eyeball tiers are just a little bit more interesting. Even if I do also sort of think that they suck, we might be able to come up with some kind of synergy that makes them not suck. And boy, that would be exciting, wouldn't it? So I'm going to use one more penny, and if it doesn't reroll, we'll go down to the next floor and feel, you know, secure in our financial status. Ooh, but still, the thing is, like, Mr. Meeseeks is a good item, but Satanic Bible is a really, really good item. Did you guys ever feel for, like, the Rick and Morty creators? I'm being real with you here, okay? Because we're like a year onwards almost from that Szechuan sauce debacle. And please, you know, go back and watch previous NLSSs with your ad block off. Because, you know, I'm of the mind, Robert and Nicholas, 2 of my dearest friends in the world, making a lot of Rick and Morty references, and I'm the guy at the corner like, oh, you like Rick and Morty, huh? DAE, I'm a genius, blah, blah, blah. So I've, like, been a hypocrite my whole life, pretty much. We very nearly got hit there. But then I watched the first, I haven't seen season 3, but I watched the first 2 seasons and was like, you know what, this show's clever. I get why it's inspired a, you know, a very passionate fan base, to put it politely. Then the whole Szechuan sauce stuff happened, and everybody's, you know, well, to be fair, you have to have a very high IQ to understand Rick and Morty, blah, blah, blah. I don't think that, you know, I mean, I've participated in that meme, and I find it hilarious, because there's nothing, the easiest thing to make fun of in the entire world, here's the dirty little secret of my humor, the easiest thing to make fun of in the entire world is pretension. People who think they're better than other people, myself included, and, you know, then falling flat on their face. There's nothing more entertaining than somebody, like, looking down or talking down to other people and then embarrassing themselves in the act. It's the purest form of comedy. It's, like, genetically built in to laugh at stuff like that. But sometimes I feel for the creators, and I'm like, yeah, they just got renewed for 70 episodes across 7 seasons, syndication money coming out of the butt, but a lot of the conversation has been sort of dominated by this fan base that picked up the show, and although the fan base is informed by the show, it's just like, we can't take it, right? It'll, as much as it might be cool, it will also ruin eyeball tiers. So I'm going for a bespoke synergy here. This is not what we're looking for. You know, that could happen to any show. There are some unique things about Rick and Morty, I guess, that lead to it being at a high risk of developing a fan base like that, but there's a lot of shows that are in that danger zone where the fan base is like almost to the point of being at the Rick and Morty level. And I'm being honest with you, everybody is going to hate what I'm about to say because I'm going to end up insulting some media property that you like, but just accept that I'm not saying, wow, that was extremely lucky, that these fan bases are toxic. I'm just saying they exist at this point where if there was an inflection in one, if they had their own Szechuan sauce moment in the public eye, they would be dead. BoJack Horseman, it's there, okay? If they did like a tie-in with Beanie Babies or something like that to sell a whatever the dog's name, Mr. Peanut Butter or whatever, and then they sold out, there would be people like openly weeping in the store that's like, I want Mr. Peanut Butter, and people would be like, what's wrong with this show? This show, there's nothing's wrong with this show. I hear the show's amazing. It's just that it's inspired a certain sort of emotional reaction that can go viral in situations like that. Plus, is this a crossover episode? Etc., etc. You get the idea. I'm not saying the shows are bad or that the fan base is toxic. I'm just trying to illustrate how, like, how tenuous it is to some extent. You could have something, it's like a critical darling, everyone loves it. All of a sudden there's a community around it, and then all it takes is one inflection point, and that community is in the drink. I'm just saying, be wary. Be wary, BoJack Horseman fans, Steven Universe fans. You can like whatever you like, you can express that you like it, but if you see a little Szechuan sauce moment coming up, you have an obligation to you and your fellow fans of the show to just play it cool. 99% of the fans, I'm sure, were A-okay. They were like, oh no, I'm not getting any dipping sauce, life goes on. But that 1% can make you look really, really bad. And the guy who said, to be fair, you have to have a high IQ to watch Rick and... Anyway, you get the idea. Fandom's weird, dude. We're in this, we're having a lot of conversations about fandom lately. Because trust me, the thing that has kicked it off for a lot of people is, you know, the actress who played Rose in Star Wars The Last Jedi feeling compelled, for whatever reason, to delete her Instagram account because she was getting, a lot of sass from members of the so-called Star Wars fandom. I understand as much as, well, maybe not as much as anybody, but I definitely see that sometimes the people who are most toxic to you are the people who consider themselves your fans. And then when they face, like, remuneration for their actions or some kind of, you know, punishment, they go, I don't understand. I thought we were just laughing and having a good time. I was just expressing my opinion. I'm a big fan of yours. And you're like, well, you told me to die? You called me an effing moron and a big idiot who can't tie his shoes properly? Like, of course people are going to take offense to that. Fandom's in a tenuous place. I think it's, you know, with social media, you have, like, a direct line to basically anybody. Like, even if you send Elon Musk a tweet that's like, you know, hey Elon, nice haircut, he's probably not going to respond, but it's clear the dude reads his own tweets. So you could, if you wanted to just, like, get instantly blocked and ignored, you could send him something heinous and then sleep soundly at night and go, yeah, I know I probably made Elon Musk feel, like, very slightly bad today. And it feels powerful, right, to have a direct line to somebody, you know, who has some influence themselves, but it's also is dangerous. I don't know where I'm going with this. Normally this is where, like, the episode would loop back around, we'd have some, like, moral lesson to draw from it. I don't have any lessons anymore, man. I'm an anecdote machine. I feel like I both hate and love Twitter. I feel uniquely compelled to, like, it's the #1 website I check in the morning, because I get everything from it. That's where I get, you know, at least news headlines, not like robust, well-written editorial news stories, but you get the idea. It's where I see trends. It's where I go when I see someone tweet, "Oh no, celebrity name," and I go, "Oh no, what happened?" They died. And it's also where I get a lot of positive reinforcement, to be fair. Hey, hey, hey! I do want that, but we don't need it yet. You know, that's where I go and people are like, "Nice job on the Wizard of Legend win," and I'm like, what? We've actually won in that game? Dude, this is pretty slick. But it's also like, I don't know. I do kind of hate the internet. I just think, I don't glorify, and I was talking about this in the last episode, I don't glamorize, I guess I should say, the idea of living out in the country. But I do think that there was an internet golden age that has passed. You know how in the early 20th century, before the First World War, there was no income tax in the United States of America? I'm not saying that that was a good thing. All I'm saying is that if you were ballin' in the 1900s, you were ballin'. You're like, what do I do with all this money? And then the First World War, the Great Depression, the Second World War, you enter into the Cold War, and you're like, we didn't know how good we had it until it was gone. That's how I kind of feel about the internet since like 2010. Basically since I started spending all day, every day on it for work. I'm not saying it's bad, because there's so much great stuff out there. But it's also like, I don't know, it's just, I think it's like a negative emotion machine for a lot of people. I keep myself fairly well balanced, but I think at some point, having a direct access to the innate and anonymous thoughts of more human beings is actually like really bad. Because, well, we got golden bombs here. As human beings, I don't know about you, but like, my internal monologue is sometimes a little judgmental. I'm actually a nice person by the way that I act. But sometimes my brain comes up with some thoughts that are just extremely... We just had blank card. You know, you'll be walking around downtown. Well, what's up with that Joker's haircut, you know? My brain says things like that. I don't go up to the dude and go, "Nice haircut, idiot." But on Twitter, I feel like if you have those kind of thoughts that enter into your head, and you're anonymous, those do come out to some extent. We also, for us, it's a little weirder, because on our show, we banter with one another, which, you know, involves... I think it's in good nature anyway. Sometimes maybe we cross the line. Making fun of your friends, well, you know, also understanding there's kind of a safety net if we all respect each other here. And sometimes we get tweets from people that are like, "Hey, why do you walk on your toes like an idiot, you idiot?" And I'm like, you don't get to say that. Only people we have a rapport with get to say that. You don't get to sidle up into our dynamic and just be like, "Hey, poop face, how do you feel about that?" You know, you haven't earned it yet. We earned it. We built that chemistry with one another. Yeah, and I don't know. Now we also have this weird sort of subset of the culture now that's like, I'm not being a jerk, I'm just telling it like it is. I'm not afraid to have a terrible opinion. Unlike you guys who obviously have the opinion, but are just afraid to say it, even though that makes no sense. And it's just like, take me back, man. But don't actually take me back, because like my life's a lot better now, but I don't know. That's why, you know, I don't have an exit strategy for this industry specifically. I love recording. I love telling jokes. I love being on stream. And I love the little back and forth you get with chat. I like being adversarial with chat. And, you know, they make fun of you and you go, "Hey, oh, you're making fun of me? Look at your name. You know, Anime Night 91. And then, you know, I'd come up with something more clever in the moment, but I'm kind of on a more cerebral bit right now, so cut me some slack, okay? Hey. But like, I worry about the YouTubers and streamers who are like, "Well, if the streaming business goes wrong, I'll just be a community manager." And I'm like, that's so much worse. If you're a community manager, mad respect. I've said it before, I'll say it again. You have like one of the toughest jobs in the industry, and you don't get as much compensation as I think you should for it. Because when you're a streamer and you take flack from comments, you're like, that sucks. But I can also just be like, first off, you're banned. Secondly, hey everybody, if you use your Twitch Prime tokens, and you get like a little bit of a dopamine rush from it, right? If you're a community manager, you get people that are like, I don't like Civ 6, and you're stupid, and I hate you, and you lazy devs, and then you gotta be like, well, we hear your concerns, we're very sorry, is there anything we can do to make you happy today? Well, you could go die in a fire. Okay, I guess I'll go die in a fire then, thank you so much. Silent Killer _81 for your feedback. We really appreciate you here, and we hope you'll be back for Civilization 7. You know? You gotta, like, be deferential instead of, defiant. My, like, again, no exit strategy. Quality of life is fine. I'm loving it. It's the cynicism that constantly gets vented off of me that allows me to stay fresh in this industry. You see, other creators are always tweeting about burnout. Oh, I get burnout all the time. You know why I don't get burnout as much? First off, something in my brain is broken, and for some reason, the very thing that allows me to play the same video game 3,000 times and still somehow trick myself into thinking I'm enjoying it, allows me to make 4, 5, 6 videos a day and be like, that was a good day at the office, you know? Can't wait to do it again tomorrow. The other thing that allows me to do it is that somebody's being a jerk. Used to be like, oh, can't call that guy a jerk. He's paying the bills. Now I'm like, that dude's a jerk. Get him. And usually after that, they're like, okay, I didn't know I was being a jerk. You know, I think people are sometimes, I think they're largely well-meaning. Some people are bad actors, but most people, I think they just don't know how to be nice, or they don't realize that they're not being nice, and then you just gotta be like, hey, that's not nice, and they go, I'm sorry. And you go, that's fine, you know, everybody oversteps the bounds from time to time. We're good. But I'm not getting into community management, dude. I'm disappearing. I'm getting a software development job at a bank. I'm gonna work in a dingy dungeon next to a bunch of servers, and I'm gonna keep it to my friggin' self that I was ever in this side of the industry, if I'm ever forced to leave it. Because you're gonna have to drag me out kicking and screaming. But once I'm out, I'm out. You can't get me to go back. Hey, you want to be an influencer relations manager for... No, I'm sorry. I already speak to enough YouTubers in my life. I need to disconnect from that. I want to go work on the 14th floor of a 100-story high building where nobody knows my name. They just call me one of the tech guys. And then later in hushed tones in the office, you'll hear a rumor. Did you know that one of the tech guys used to be like a mid-size YouTuber? Oh, a mid-size YouTuber? Like Ninja? No, not like Ninja. Anyway. Again, people, sometimes they hear that and they go, oh, NL's planning to leave. Nah. It's different. It's like being on an airplane and having some anxiety that it's gonna crash. I'm not planning to jump out of the airplane. But if the plane goes down and there's a parachute, that's what I'm grabbing. I just bought my parachute, is basically what it comes down to. Cause like, I don't know. I'm not famous. I never really wanted to be famous in the first place. I'm not famous, but I do get recognized on occasion. And I just want to, like, point out, if you're like, when I grow up, I want to be rich and famous. Nah, dude. Just be rich. Like, that part is cool. You can eat fish and not feel like you should be eating, you know, ground beef covered in shredded cheddar cheese. Beef stroganoff hamburger helper. My favorite meal growing up. But being famous is just, there's no perks. I don't understand what the perk of being... What is this, by the way? Finger bound. Like, it's affirming. I guess it is, like, it's positive feelings. Because I get to, you know, people come up to me. and they go, I've been watching your videos. I really enjoy them. Like, you've been a constant source of entertainment. That part's nice. But apart from that, there's no perk to being famous. It's just like potential negative. Like, in my head, I'm like, one day, I'm gonna be walking in downtown Vancouver, and there's gonna be a dude that's like, hey, egg! And I'm gonna be like, I have no idea how to interpret the situation, and then he's just gonna murder me, and he'll be like, this is for the pot play. And then when he's in court, he's gonna be like, oh, is it not okay to murder people? I was being a fan. It might be irrational, but at the same time, I am also, like, I'm a little cagey, you know, when I meet people in public. I'm at the point now where whenever anybody grabs my attention in public, I assume that it's to be like, hey, watch the NLSS, I really like it. It used to be they'd say, hey, I love watching the Isaac episodes, but I think that train has sailed to some extent, and now people only whisper that in hushed tones to one another. And that's fine, too. There's things I watch that I only whisper in hushed tones to myself. Can't talk to my mama, so I talk to my diary. Like dodgeball. Anyway. The movie, not the sport. Stop this. I'm probably unlikely to be murdered, is my guess. But, like, if it happens, you better make sure that person fries. Promise me. Promise me. You will I don't care where it happens, extradite them to a country that'll make them pay. I don't believe in capital punishment. And I do believe that, you know, whenever possible, prison should be a rehabilitation instead of merely a punishment designed to keep people in the cycle. You know, it strips them of the tools they need to build a solid life and then forces them to stay in the complex for the rest of their existence. However, my empathy stops when it comes to me being murdered. So if it ever happens, I mean, stop short of doing the same thing to them that they would have done to me, but... And it's not like I spend all day thinking, I don't even know how much HP we have, so I'm not doing that. I don't spend all day being like, you know, I wonder if just looking around my shoulder at all times, right? That's ridiculous. Maybe a couple of minutes a day. But you kind of have to size up when an interaction happens. So if somebody goes, hey, take a peek at them. You know, I'm like, okay, graphic t-shirt, glasses. These are my people. I already got the routine set up. Oh, dude, thanks so much. Yeah, no, it's fun. Really, dude, that's so flattering. Thank you. It's not being insincere. It's just like, you know, I need some sort of conversational routine for it as the wave of relief that I'm not about to be killed washes over me. This bit has gone on too far. But, like, you know, the show is Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. It should just be like Lifestyles of the Opulent. Because the fact that they're famous has very little to do with it. Like, what's... The perk of fame is that it correlates... I think, at least, that it correlates with wealth for most people. You know, like, otherwise, I would be very wary of anybody that wants to be famous. Like, if that's their desire, if you're like, would you rather be, like, well-known or wealthy? It depends. If you're like a, you know, a not-for-profit doctor or something like that, that's incredibly selfless, obviously. But if you're like, you know, I want to be a social media superstar, I'm like, that's horrible. Why? I guess it's different strokes for different folks. I have this terrible premonition, by the way, that Bad Baby is actually going to become, like, maybe the most famous rapper of the next few years. If you don't know who Bad Baby is, she's the Cash Me Outside, How About That girl. If you haven't seen the clip, I mean, you're way behind in the memes. So she basically was just this... She's a jerk that was a kid, and she was on Dr. Phil. because her mom was like, hey, my kid's a jerk and I don't know what to do about it. And Dr. Phil was like, you're a jerk. And then she's like, cash me outside. How about that? So I think she threatened to fight someone in the audience or something like that. She's 14 years old. She was 14. Now she's probably like 16, 17. And of course, because we live in a simulation, now she's a rapper. She's parlayed being a bad person, which is fine considering how young she was when she had, you know, the moment. But instead of being like, I apologize, this is what I've learned about public relations, by the way, and I'll go through that anecdote in a second here, but... Well, we got our key back. Instead of being like, I apologize, I'm gonna, you know, seek to rework the way that I am in my character, instead, she's like, nah, I'm gonna be a rapper now. And she's taken off, and I listened to her new song today. It was in The Fader. I hate it, but I heard it, and I went, oh, this is gonna pop. I don't know if it actually will, but I think it could. That's why I have the premonition, you know? I think, you know, in 5 years, we'll be like, Bad Baby from Inauspicious Origins to Top of the World. Maybe I'm wrong. But what I was gonna say about PR is that, you know, I really thought that the way that it used to work was that you would make a mistake in the public eye, you would apologize, you would show contrition, and you would say you pledge to do better, and then, you know, you try to change whatever in your life led you to make that mistake in the first place, and you know, go quiet for a year or two, and you come back and you go, here I am, and do you accept me? I'm realizing more and more that apparently... Oh, stop walking on the spikes. If you ever apologize for your actions, it's like apparently the public has beaten you. The new style is when you make a mistake in public... Oh, thank you. You double down, and you go like, well, first off, I'm being misconstrued in the media. You double down. And there's always going to be, especially I think for YouTubers, there's always like a certain contingent that will support you. You just never admit wrongdoing. Start a Patreon and you're good to go. Grab this. We have restock, but I don't want to do it yet. Like, I really do think that we're entering like a... And by the way, I think I said this like 2 years ago. It's hard for me to remember because I do, you know, I've done 1,000 episodes since then, but I think we're entering like a post-truth era of internet media, which is like you will just believe whatever you want to believe, and you'll find as many sources as you can to verify that, because any idiot with a keyboard can type whatever they want right now. And I am an idiot with a keyboard. I'm not merely insulting other people who disagree with me, believe it or not. So now, no longer do you necessarily have to have prevailing wisdom in order to back up your opinion. Instead, you just find like the... You know, maybe you do have the prevailing wisdom, but in a lot of situations I see like, you know, I find it all the time... Again, I resent that this is a controversial thing, you know? In the man-made climate change cough-cough debate, wink wink, you know, or the same thing for anti-vaccines, you know? Or anti-vaxxers. They'll be like, yeah, 99% of scientists agree with you, but look at this one dude who had his medical license revoked in all but one country on planet Earth. He says this, and he's a doctor. Are you saying we shouldn't trust a doctor? You know, that's what I mean. Like, access to information is so dangerous now, because you can find people that agree with any idiotic opinion that you hold. There was a doctor in BC that got, he lost his medical license, or he's a chiropractor. I don't know if he lost his license, now that I think about it. I might be spreading quote-unquote fake news myself, but, he posted, and again, I was like, there were many reasons why I didn't like this news story when I read it. He was posting a Facebook live stream from Whole Foods, and I said to myself, dude, you're a doctor. Why are you trying to muscle in on my territory? You already got Yours. Just, you know, be a doctor or a chiropractor. You know, you're at like the top of the world for your profession. Stop trying to muscle in on my territory. And then he was like, you don't need vaccines or medicine. Just drink a smoothie. And I was like, you went to school to be a healthcare professional. How does that happen? The world. I think what I've learned, I still do, you know, I trust the scientific consensus. I trust medical professionals, you know, implicitly at least. But what I used to think was like, well, if you're a doctor, you have to be smart. What I've realized now is there's a subtle difference. If you're a doctor, you've been given every opportunity to be smart. I don't necessarily think that for everybody the lesson gets through, unfortunately. Because for this guy, I was like, what he said was not only stupid because it was innately dumb. It was also stupid because he was doing a Facebook live stream that is totally gonna get him in trouble. Like, if you're gonna say some stupid stuff like that, do it in private like the rest of us do. I'm of the opinion that, you know, probably everybody has opinions that if they were spotlighted in the public would just be idiotic because they're subject to scrutiny, you know? We hold comforting but, you know, wrong beliefs, I think, a lot of the time. I mean, no matter how much we pursue knowledge and the quest for, like, reality, you know? But, like, if you're gonna say some dumb stuff, you gotta do it in private. Especially if you're he was like the head of the British Columbia Chiropractors Association or something like that. What are you doing? Is that your dream is to not be a chiropractor and instead be the smoothie king of Facebook Live? I don't understand. Now, of course, we all know he's right. I mean, whenever I end up with some kind of gastrointestinal distress, I'm like, I'm just gonna get a smoothie. Forget talk. I had strep throat a couple years ago. Had some orange juice, cleared it right up. The Halo's not too bad. This is a very slow run for a run that's so good. I mean, I know we made it in time for Hush, but like we were way slow for Boss Rush. It was only the world card that allowed us to get here. And that's the dude, that's the guy I'm wary of, is the guy who's already successful, but now he wants to be famous. Because I think wanting to be famous is an innately, like, it arouses suspicion in me. I probably could do what I do and be invisible, you know, on social media. I don't agree with people who are like, you have to have a Twitter account to grow your brand. I'm like, nah, I don't think so. That's what I mean. Agree to disagree, but I don't think so. Because I see people, you know, like I was meeting people at the Hitman event, and I would follow them on Twitter, and they would have like, you know, 1/5 the followers I have on Twitter, but double the subscribers or triple the subscribers on YouTube. So I'm like, they have like no Twitter presence except for the fact that it like tweets out their videos, whereas I'm on Twitter like. Instead of celebrating your 18th birthday, you should celebrate the instant before you turn 18, because briefly, you're the oldest adult on planet Earth. So I think, like, I have a compulsion with Twitter, which is, like, I want an outlet to dump terrible jokes and just thoughts into the ether. So I'm basically my own worst enemy, because I'm like, Twitter sucks. Also, right now, I'm like, what's going on Twitter? I hope I'm not missing anything important. But anybody who's like, I don't know how many times you said it over the course of these shows, but like, anybody that wants to be the president or prime minister, I'm incredibly suspicious of. Because I always think that, you know, the ideal candidate is a person that's like begrudging, like kicking and screaming. Their party is like, you need this responsibility, we need you. And they're like, no, I couldn't possibly. And then they're like, no, we need you. And then they're like, fine, I'll do it. I'll sacrifice 4 to 8 years of my life and I'll lead this country. Whenever people are like, you know, if you're like 10, it's different. But if they're like 40 and they're like, it's my ambition to be president, I'm like, get this snake out of there. They're using the office to glorify their own image. Because I don't think you should want to be president. historically, like 3 of the 47 people that have done it or whatever, and I don't know if it's 47, okay? It may surprise you. I don't live in your country, so I don't know what number of president you're on, okay? Regardless. Like 8% of the people who have done the job have been murdered in office. If you interviewed for a job and they were like 8%, you have a 8% chance of being killed, I would be like, well, at least everyone will like me, right? They're like, nah. Maximum approval ceiling is like 52% in today's day and age because people will never change their partisan politics because it's too much a part of their identity at this point. And you're like, okay, but at least like I must be like fabulously wealthy. And you're like, nah, you make really good money, but you can't really spend it while you're in office. And then afterwards you get paid, but you got to write some memoirs to get it. And that's just assuming you don't collect on that 8% chance from earlier. And you're like, well, it must be a lot of security in the job. And you're like, nah, you can only hold it for 4 to 8 years. After that point, it's illegal to hold it any longer. And there's really nowhere else for you to go from that point onwards. Okay, but at least I must live in, like, the best part of... Nah, it's Washington, D.C. Okay, that's just an insult to Washington. I've never been. You get the idea. I'm innately skeptical of anybody that wants to be at the... Anybody that willfully takes on a lot of responsibility freaks me out. You've probably experienced it with group projects in school, you know? I know there's keys, whatever. It's a vessel for commentary, you know? You always had, in group projects, there's always, usually, when I was in school, they were named like Allison. There's always some person, they're in 4th grade, and they're wearing like all Burberry stuff. And you're like, well, how do you get that? Burberry makes $500 shirts for 10-year-olds? Apparently so. And they'd always be like, I volunteer to be the group project leader. When I was young and naive, I was like, sick, less responsibility. And I got older, I was like, oh no. Said T-minus 4 days until Allison sends out a big email that is like, I hate you all, you ruined my life. What are common names these days? If you're like 19 right now, you're like a full 10 years below me in age, what are the common names? When I was growing up, Mike, Josh, Jordan, Allison, Jennifer, Jamie was a big one. I feel like I hear of a lot more Cadens now. I'm always hearing stories. My friend Caden, my friend Craden, my friend Krang. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. Helps out a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching. I will see you next time.